Hey, hello, uh, everybody. Welcome. Today we are doing a review of a video I did, and with me, I got a whole bunch of friends. So welcome, friends. I'll just let you guys introduce yourselves, starting with Pierce.
Hey, what's up? I'm Pierce. I go with Matt out to some locations doing SE sometimes in real life. That was my intro that played. I forgot that was at the end. But yeah, that's me.
Cool. I can go next. I'm Chase. I'm the crazy vegan that they warned you about, but I also like the street epistemology, and so here I am. And I've already seen this video, but it's been a while, so I can't recall it too much. So it'll be fun to watch it again and give a review.
Hi, I'm Veronica. I do not have a YouTube channel yet, but fan. So anyway, a friend.
I'm Humanity. I'm a veteran of the Street Epistemology Discord server.
As in you've been through a lot of battles? Is that what that means?
Been through a lot of SEs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Quaid. Channel's called Honest Ape 42. Sometimes I do SE on there.
I'm David. I was born yesterday. I don't know anything.
I'm Nate. I have a channel called Navigate with Nate. I've been doing SE on there for about a year and a half now.
I'm Sushi. My channel's Sushi Thinks, and I like to make people's gears turn in their brain hole. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds painful.
Nicely done.
Can be for some people. It sure can.
Yeah, that's true.
I just wanted to, before we start, say thank you to everybody for coming. This is really awesome. Feels very supportive, and I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
All right.
We have the perfect Brady Bunch setup, by the way. I don't know if you've ever had this before, but this is perfect. We could all be like looking up and over.
I gotta remember that Quaid's on my right. That's
Yeah.
I feel like I gotta switch.
I'm in the middle. I got it easy.
Because I'm looking that direction. Yeah.
Quaid Brady.
I'm looking at the wall.
Does that make you our housekeeper, Quaid, if you're in the middle, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't remember. I don't remember where everybody is. I think, it would be Alice, right? Is that her name? I think?
Yeah.
That sounds right.
It sounds right. Yeah.
I gotta revisit this.
I'm way too young to know any of the names of the Brady Bunch.
Marsha.
You want to talk about the rubric for a second? Are we going to be using it today?
Do you want to talk about the Rubik's Cube? Yes, I do.
This is actually the first time I'm looking at this. I saw it. Was it Nate? Did you make this?
Yeah. It's version 1, or it's in beta or something like that. I mean, I hope to improve it, but I haven't actually looked at it in a few weeks either.
So how do you...
that you can share with everybody?
Sorry, what?
Do you have a link that you can share with everybody?
I think
It's in the Discord somewhere, but I can try to find it.
In the comments now. I got you.
Oh, nice. So it's totally up to Matt whether he wants to kind of go through this and kind of check things off. I hope that it scores well, because I remember really liking this video. So hopefully it's a really good example of SE, but this is basically a little rubric I put together. There was a lot of discussion about like what is good SE, what's bad SE, what qualifies as SE. And so what I did is I went through the Navigating Beliefs course and tried to just identify like some core ideas or things that I would say would count towards being more like good quality SE that's going to hopefully result in critical reflection. And then also identified some things that maybe would be bad for SE, at least in as far as rapport goes. Now the whole course isn't published yet, so there's probably more of a focus on rapport on the rubric than maybe would be necessary, because that's one of the main modules that's actually published, and there's some other ones that aren't yet. But basically, it's little check boxes, and it adds up the points, and you can write down written comments as well. I'd like to expand a little bit to make it more of a, like, here's a positive example, give you points for this. Here's kind of the opposite of that, subtract points for that sort of thing. And at some point, I might make another version of it that's like that. But the current state is like this. And I've used it to evaluate, I don't know, like 4 or 5 different SE videos when I first made it, but haven't actually revisited it in the last couple of weeks. Been busy.
That's cool. I was going to say real quick, it might be a good idea for anybody who is unfamiliar with SE for us to explain what SE, street epistemology, is, just in case there's new viewers. So my quick little summary of street epistemology is basically like an interview. It's like the opposite of a debate. You know, it's very polite, where one person is asking questions of the other person to try to understand and politely challenge and ask what they believe, why they believe it, and if those are good reasons for holding that belief, and if anything could change their mind, that kind of thing. I don't know if anybody else wants to add their opinion on what street epistemology is. I know there's like a specific definition now on the SE course, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the specific definition is something like
tool to help you evaluate the quality of your reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of critically reflect through civil conversation. Those are like 2 key phrases: critical reflection and civil conversation.
Mm-hmm. I kind of view it as a puzzle. Like we set like a challenge to figure out how someone came to understand what they believe, and like uncovering their reasonings for things, and how so they can reflect on it.
All right, should we dive into the video?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Has to be a divine creator. It's too perfect. It's too perfect. Yeah.
What would an imperfect creation look like?
I had to explore that a little more.
Great question.
Good intro.
What's your first name?
Daniel.
Daniel?
Yes, sir.
D-A-N-I-E-L?
Yes, sir.
I'm Matt. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yes, sir.
So, I'll try to explain maybe a little bit better what I'm doing, and then if that interests you, we can keep going.
Yep.
Basically,
So if that interests you, we can keep going. So that was kind of giving him a way to get out of the conversation, kind of a way of asking for consent there.
out here interviewing folks about something that they believe is true. Preferably, or it works better if it's something that's important to you, something that, like, if you found out wasn't true tomorrow, it would change how you act in the world. And then asking questions to figure out the reasons that you have for believing the belief, and then what makes those good reasons according to your standards.
That's deep.
It's
very deep.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. We were just having this conversation earlier, so yeah.
Was it about something specific?
Yeah, something more spiritual, religious.
I'm just gonna put this on the rubric right here. So obtain informed consent. You explained what street epistemology was. You gave him a way to say, like, hey, no, I don't want to actually talk to you. You didn't, like, force him to. So there we have it.
Yeah, you seem interested.
Yeah, and a little more philosophical as well. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think we can go into that conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a conclusion that you've reached about something spiritual or religious that you would want to explore?
Absolutely. It's my religious belief.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think I have a conclusion.
Okay.
It's a little confusing for me right now.
Go ahead.
I do believe in Jesus.
Okay.
I am Christian.
Okay.
But I'm also one of those Christians that I'm in search of more. You know, I'm open to my beliefs being challenged.
Okay.
And I'm open to challenge my beliefs because I'm on the path, or I'm on this journey where, you know, okay, like you said, you know, I believe in what I believe in, but when it's challenged, do I still believe that? And the more that I'm having these type of conversations, it leads me to believe, to go deeper and believe more, and to, you know, I'm hungry for more, in a sense. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, we could explore that if you wanted to.
We can do that.
Sure. Let's see. If there was like a way, and I know you said you haven't necessarily reached a conclusion, but I'm wondering if there was like maybe like a tweet-sized sentence of.
Did we lose audio, or is that just me?
It's just a little hard to hear.
Just like.
It's a little hard to hear the video.
It's really quiet. It does get better like a couple minutes in, because my one microphone wasn't on.
It's not too bad on my end.
Okay, so we just go Christianity. All right. What does Christianity mean to you?
Believing in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Believing in Jesus? Okay. And when you say believing in Jesus, what does that mean?
Believing His teaching.
Believing in His teaching?
His purpose on this earth.
Purpose, okay. So, sort of like the message, the messages of Jesus. Yeah. And when you say purpose, what do you mean by that?
Him being sent by Christ, the Lord.
Okay.
To come out here and dying for our sins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Dying for sins. Okay. I think I understand. I think I'm kind of familiar with Christianity enough. When you think about Christianity, how confident would you say you are that I guess maybe this portion of this belief is true? Because I think most people could look at the teachings of Jesus and say like, oh yeah, okay, maybe this is a good teaching, like this is a good idea, we should do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, just maybe just for this portion, that there was this guy named Jesus who was sent by God to die for our sins. When you think about that claim, how confident are you that that's true?
I'm very confident.
Okay. What does very confident mean to you?
It's like my North Star. It's my compass.
Okay. So it sort of guides you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, can we just pause for a second on that? So, I'm not quite sure if I missed it or not, but it didn't seem like he ever said that particular part. Do you feel as though that was kind of projecting what he was thinking about Christianity?
What part didn't he say?
Yeah, I think he said that.
Did he say about the sacrificing himself and everything like that?
Yeah, he didn't say like that God sent Jesus, or that he just said that he believed in Jesus' purpose and teachings.
Well, I think he did say that Jesus was sent by the Lord, because I was thinking, is the Lord different than Jesus? I thought Jesus was the Lord, but like, okay, so like, so he was saying that, and that Jesus is Lord, and that Jesus died for our sins, didn't he? I thought that's what he said.
I think so.
I mean, you could assume it, I think based off the conversation, but I thought it wasn't. I too thought it was an assumption too, but I might have just missed where he said it.
It was really quiet, but I think he did.
Yeah, I think he did. Because it wouldn't be good to make that assumption, but I can see where you might draw that conclusion that it was an assumption, because Matt said, well, I'm pretty familiar with Christianity. But then he went specifically to what he said. I'm pretty sure he did say that. Maybe, perhaps you missed that, Sushi. Or
if I did make that assumption, I shouldn't have. Yeah.
I mean, he confirmed it too, so. was obviously a correct assumption.
For anybody who's keeping track at home, I marked ask for clarification of terms. Like you said, when you say purpose, what do you mean? And then settle on an important or interesting claim that is not trivial or obvious. I don't think the claim is trivial or obvious. Settle on a claim that is not simply a personal preference. Don't think that was the case, so I think that was good. Ask for a confidence level. Matt asked, what does very confident mean to you? So even clarified, what that meant.
Hold on a second. This number, what was it? Wait, can we go back to that screen real quick?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Number 28, settle on a claim that is not simply a personal preference. I don't know about that because, like, I know we're not talking, like, if it's things like, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? Yeah, chocolate versus vanilla doesn't really impact the world, right? But if it's a personal preference as far as, like, a moral concern about how things should be operating in the world, I think those kind of claims are important to be examined during street epistemology. But it could be helpful to know which one you're dealing with, if it's a truth claim or a moral claim.
So you have an issue with the rubric?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's a critique of the rubric.
Right.
Hey, take it up with the navigating beliefs team, okay? I will on that. So. Yeah, but I think there's a difference between like a personal preference claim and a moral claim as well. Maybe moral claim is like a third option.
You mean like aesthetic
somewhere
claim.
between those?
Well, when it says personal preference, I just interpreted that to mean a claim. It could be a moral claim.
Right.
Really is not that important to them. If a claim is not that important to them, then the only reason that I would SC it is if it's really important to me. It's the only reason I would do that.
Okay, and I guess the reason
it's not important to either of us.
And I guess the reason I'm giving that little bit of pushback is because I think that a lot of like for example, I saw David from Sound Epistemology, who I love. He's a great guy, great epistemologist. But he was trying to kind of force people into a box of, it felt to me, of you got to make a truth claim, like it has to be a statement about the reality of the world we share, as opposed to it also being open to being a moral claim that someone could make, wherein it wouldn't be how confident are you that this is true? It would be, how confident are you that this is a good idea, that we should do this, that this policy should be enacted or whatever.
Yeah, you can still SC opinions. You can SC opinions. It's just harder to stay focused on those. Yeah.
I think it can be good for rapport building. I've never tried it before, but I can imagine that you could, who's better, Michael Jordan or LeBron James, and it's like I don't really care, and I don't think there's really an answer at all, but it can help break the ice to do that.
The way that I've SC
a claim
opinions before, the way I SC opinions is that I get a sense of what the core value is driving the opinion, and then I look to see if there's anything. I basically look to see if there's anything that could break the criteria underpinning the preference. So if they prefer Michael Jordan, I would look for examples, or I would look for a way that we could test whether Michael Jordan fits the criteria for the best basketball player by their own standard. Just a thought.
A GOAT metric.
Well, you can further explore a normative claim or a moral claim by asking, why is that important to you?
Yeah.
That'll help reveal some of the more underlying reasons.
All right, let's continue on then.
What is the biggest reason you think that makes you very confident that this part of Christianity is true.
Okay. So if we take out the religious part of things, right, and just get purely logical, right? And also, I just firmly believe that we do have a higher creator, and there's nothing that I can do or say, right, that can change that, as far as I know right now. And the message that Jesus Christ preached, right, it just further explains that belief. And so, like you said, if that changed, well, if I heard the question correctly, if that changes, right, or
yeah, well, it was more like well, it sounded like what you were saying there was that maybe the messages of Jesus are what gives you that's what makes you confident,
right?
Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good catch.
This is I like to ask you some questions as well, so we can kind of play off on that. So with that being said, we can get back to that. But my question to you then is, I guess, what is your overarching or your purpose of all of this?
Of just doing this?
Yes.
It's about to be a
Basically,
juggling act now.
My two main goals are to encourage people to think more critically about their beliefs, and then to inspire reflection, basically. So that's pretty much it. It doesn't really matter to me what people believe. I think what's important is the reasons that you use to come to the belief.
Right.
And then, why are those good reasons? Right. Basically.
Right.
And I'm going to mark down, have the goal of encouraging critical reflection, as long as you were being honest with them, Matt. And if you were being honest with them, then I'm going to check engage honestly.
What was the question exactly there? Because I thought he was asking one thing and then Matt answered differently. I might have missed something.
I think he said something like, "What is your reason for doing this?" I think he wanted to ask me something about my religious beliefs. And then he maybe switched it on the fly. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that he was assuming the answer. I think he was kind of assuming that you had one particular goal in mind, and then that turned out to really not be the case. So the question was kind of different, I guess. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Could have been.
So for me, it's more so personal, like just personal events in my life, right? So going back, I grew up in the church. My grandfather was a deacon. My dad in the church. Ever since I've known, we've always been in the church. And I deviated away from that as a teenager. I just wanted to figure out my own things, and I went out, lived in the world, just did whatever. I'm still living in the world. I don't go to church every day anymore. And throughout those personal experiences, I've always had, it's almost like a guiding angel, like a guardian angel, always, encouraging me to believe in the higher power. I mean, it's hard to explain to an unbeliever, but it's almost like, there are events in my life, there are things that have happened that, if it weren't for God, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if it wasn't for that guidance. I mean, there are accidents that I've been into or that was, so close, and it was almost like a miracle that didn't happen, and for me, it was always like pointing me right back to that belief in God, and I stopped questioning. I've even had a dream once where, it's something that I haven't really shared with a lot of people, but people that are important to me. I've had this dream, and I was like, going through some stuff as a teenager, and it was almost like I was in this dark area, or like somewhat like, you know, when the fire comes somewhere and it burns, and I was there by myself, and there was this hand that reached from above. It's almost like a cloud picking me up with like a sharp voice, like a very powerful voice. I'd say, I got you, but it was also soothing, right? And it picked me up, and I woke up because that dream felt so powerful to me, and it was like a awakening moment for me as well that just further just steer me through, you know, to what I believe in. And so I started to really leaning into Jesus' message, and his message preaching love and forgiveness, and, you know, sacrificing oneself for, you know, for the greater good. And that just felt really good to me, you know. And so I put that aside, and I'm like, all right, well, let me just think logical. Let me be logical here, right? What if this isn't true? What if, you know,
I think
this is just some story that
just a quick I think that might be the second time he's kind of set like religion and logic like against each other, as if they're kind of almost like two different modes of thinking, or like almost like they're in conflict. I don't know if you caught onto that, but he said it, I think, at the beginning of the conversation, something along those lines as well.
I think he's saying, like, if you think about it logically, but in a way that's implying that normal people might not, right? That's kind of what I was getting at. It was almost like there was some like inference going on.
I think he was like feeling emotional about it and feeling like this powerful stuff, and then he's like, well, but if I set that aside and I think logically about it, I think he was trying to set aside his own biases towards supernatural. It's just my opinion. But I like how you listen, Matt.
smart person or smart people came together and they created this highest form of good, right? And it's just a fairy tale or this thing, right? To help people reach for good, then even if it's true or not, it's not going to change.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like you're saying even if Christianity wasn't true,
if Jesus didn't exist,
right? But you're saying you're saying the messages are what's important.
Yeah.
Okay. If Christianity was false, would you want to know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good follow-up.
How do you think you would figure that out?
You guys will never know.
You'll never know?
This is the thing, right? Even if I figure out one day, I go, kick the can, right? And whoops, God doesn't exist. What you believe in didn't exist. At least I believe in something bigger than myself.
Bigger than yourself.
Yeah. Than to just go around thinking that be nihilistic.
Nihilist.
Is that the right word? Yeah, a nihilist.
Yeah. Maybe a nihilist is like. That's a good question. Somebody that thinks that there is no purpose to life.
There is no purpose to life.
Is what a nihilist is. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So we got messages.
A good follow-up question there. It's like, what would be bad about being nihilistic?
Say that again. I couldn't hear you.
A good follow-up question would be, what would be bad about being nihilistic?
Or even why is it important to believe in something bigger than yourself, or to
another
positive belief?
Yeah.
Another question might be like, are those the only two options? Because I think there's a difference between nihilism and existentialism, where existentialism, they both believe like there's like no God giving you a meaning. Nihilism is very seems pessimistic and maybe even cynical, where it's like there's no meaning and you can't even create your own meaning. Whereas existentialism is like there is no meaning given to you, but you can create your own meaning, or meaning can but so I'm just wondering, God, it seems like there's three options instead of two.
Many.
Yeah, it is a false dichotomy. Yeah, nihilism versus, it seems to him, from his point of view, if you don't have a so-called higher power, then life is meaningless. And you could explore with him, well, is that really true? But then that would be a completely different SE than what the interlocutor was looking for.
Yeah, he seems to keep coming back to these kind of like benefit reasons, like Christianity. He's both saying like I believe it's true, and I would want to know if it's not true, but then he comes back and says, but it's almost like the real reasons that he's wanting or believing it is because it provides some sort of benefit. You know, it allows me to believe in something bigger than myself. The messages are beneficial, or I gain something from them. And so it's still kind of a little bit unclear. And I don't remember, it's been a while since I watched this video. I don't remember if you kind of really dig down and try to, figure out, what are the actual real reasons here. But I assume because you're really good at this, Matt, you probably do a real reason check. Probably.
I don't remember. I really hope I do.
I just want to.
I was just going to say, I find the real trouble here is when a lot of the reasons seems to be claims in themselves. It's like, at what point in time do you explore those claims deeper? Is it a deeper rooted belief that leads to this other belief, or should you just accept it as a reason for the claim that you're investigating or having the conversation about?
Yeah, and that's where those real reason checks are really beneficial. They help prevent going down a rabbit hole that's for something that's really not key to the belief, right? First identifying, okay, what are the actual things that are underpinning this, that if your mind changed about them, it would actually have an impact on your confidence. Then that helps you target the conversation and know, like, okay, these are the important things we need to be talking about. Because it can be really hard to know, like, okay, should I pursue this or not? Like, should I talk about nihilism? Well, do a real reason check first, find out.
Yeah, I think right now I'm just listening and writing down what I think are reasons that he's giving me. And I think I go back and read it. It's been so long since I edited this video was the last time I watched it. So hopefully.
Could you remind me what claim you're actually...
Go ahead, Veronica.
I was just... can you remind me what it was, what portion of that board that you were focusing on?
I think what I circled was like the important bit that he said, which was like really quiet. But it was something like the Lord sent Jesus to die for our sins.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. But I think broadly speaking, Christianity is true. I think is the very first thing that I wrote down.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Then I just wanted to say is
that, you said we're writing down all the reasons he gave you, and that was a habit that I used to have with my interlocutors, and I no longer think it's worth the time. I really think that the best thing to do is just to ask what's the biggest reason or what's the most important reason that you believe this.
Then I just wanted to add, for number 42 here, how much their conversation values truth. What I heard Matt say was, would you want to know if it is false? So I think that is a great way to ask, how you value truth. Do you care? So,
accidents that you described that maybe seemed a little miraculous, and then these powerful dreams. What do you think among these is the biggest reason that gives you confidence that Christianity is true?
Miracles.
Miracles.
Yeah, things that are completely out of my control.
Okay.
That just I don't have any explanation for. Yeah.
Is there a reason that you choose Christianity as an explanation for those?
Yeah, like I said, going back to my upbringing, that's one thing that I was exposed to at a very early age, so it plays a lot in my decision, obviously. But I also think that coming from Africa and where I lived in Africa, that community itself did a really good job exposing me to a lot of different religion, because there were African spirituality being practiced in that community. There were Muslim, Christianity, and we all coexisted. Like, I didn't even know we hated each other until we came to America. We're just like, you don't like them, and they don't like, what? Okay. So, you know, during holidays, like during Muslim holidays, they'll have just regular things where, you know, everybody come, like all the kids will come, the Christian kids will show up, and we'll all come together and we'll eat, you know, and we'll have fun. You know, people who practice African spirituality, they'll do their things, you know, they'll bring food and we'll hang out, you know, and Christians during Christmas, Muslim, we'll all hang out and we'll do things and have fun. And, you know, in my community, you know, people will go around and giving gifts during like Christmas and New Year's and stuff, giving gifts, and Muslims will accept that, you know. And so for me, it wasn't really hard for me to make that decision, you know, because I was exposed. And so I don't think, in a sense, I was like sheltered and made this biased decision. I think I was given enough information to make this decision on my own.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. If these accidents that you described, these like miraculous things that happened to you, if those hadn't happened to you, would you still be very confident that Christianity is true?
Great
I
question.
would find a way to always lead me back to that. Because like I mentioned, just going back into the world, right? Just choosing not to go to church. You know, my family always goes to church, you know, but I just choose not to go. And they never forced me, they never made me feel excluded or anything like that. They made me explore. And I explored. I drank, I partied, you know, I did all those things. But every single time there were situations that always led me back to God, you know, and that always led me back to my faith.
So is he saying that he would still believe right now? If it weren't for the miracles, maybe he would still come back? Is that what you guys are hearing or not?
That's
yeah,
what it
I mean,
sounded
he
like
said
to
that
me.
circumstances were like point to God is basically what I was hearing, is that that kind of led him back. I'd be curious what his definition of a miracle is.
I missed that. I wrote it down in my notes too. I should have asked that.
So I think I may have done with your first question about, excuse me, I forget the terminology, but it was kind of a question that was along the ideas of like, how did you determine that Christianity was true? And I think it would have been a good opportunity for the outsider test, right? I had miracles, you know, thus this God is true. It's like, okay, well, if somebody else had miracles and they came to the conclusion that their God is real, how would we make that determination?
Yeah, that's a good option. Or I've been like, it's been nagging at me to ask, you know, what would be the second best explanation if this wasn't the truth? You know, if you found out that this wasn't the case, what do you think would explain these occurrences?
Yeah,
I think when he was talking,
go ahead, Pierce.
When he was talking about all the other religions, it would have been a really smooth transition to go right into the outsider test since he brought it up.
Yeah, that's true. Or when that came up also, I was thinking, were you exposed to, so he was saying he was exposed to different religious groups, which is, you know, interesting and all well and good, but was he exposed to any groups of atheists? Did they have any kind of influence? Like, probably not, I'm guessing. I could be wrong, but, you know, like, so I guess what I'm getting at is maybe the situation was that he was influenced or exposed to different religious groups, but they were all religious groups, you know what I mean? And so he might have still been stuck within the confines of that box and chose one of the things within that box, but maybe that whole box is inappropriate for whatever reason.
Well, I think what Matt did was right, though. I mean, these are all good questions and good options and good things to go down depending on like the outcome of the real reason test. But I think Matt's was 100% on the money to ask the question, you know, like, if you didn't have these miracle stories or this whatever sort of miracles you've experienced, right? You know, would you still believe it? And it kind of sounds like he's saying, like, oh yeah, like, you know, in the past I went and I drank and did stuff, and something always brought me back. Something always brought me back. I always came back. Which, at least the way I'm interpreting it, is saying like, well, you know, there might be something else. And so identifying that something else, I think you want to do that first. And then I think potentially, you know, coming back and we can use those Muslim kids he grew up with as outsiders. And that's a great option and something to keep in the back of your mind and come back to. But I think Matt, what you did is the right strategy. You know, we want to figure out what the real reasons are first before we dive into any, because otherwise you can have a meandering conversation where you spend the next 20 minutes talking about miracles and it doesn't actually have much of an impact on the confidence. So I think kudos to Matt. I think it was good. But David's right. Knowing what a miracle is would be good too.
Yeah, I go ahead. Sorry.
I think when he said miracle, he then followed it up with like things that happened that I couldn't explain happened, why they happened or whatever. That's not verbatim, but I just took that as his definition for miracle and sort of ran with it.
And I get it. And he kind of reinforced that immediately after, whenever he said like things kept happening and it turned it back to God. But it still feels like we're almost in the testimony answer. Like this is like, oh yeah, so what's your story about? And this is what you tell your people in church. Yeah, I mean, I used to drink and stuff like that, but I kept coming back, and it feels like it takes time to get to the more of the how we get to those thoughts as opposed to just what happened.
Yeah, I think that it might be a good opportunity to ask, like, okay, so you were partying, like, and you say something brought you back. So, like, walk me through these things that bring you back to the church. Like, can you recall? I think being specific is.
Yeah.
And is it possibly a false attribution error where, like, thinking that it's, you know, if like I think he said it was God calling him back, or maybe I'm misinterpreting, but some kind of signs, you know, miracles or whatever, you know, again, going back to like a second best explanation, you know, what else could explain that? Is it possible that somebody could think that a miracle has happened and attribute it to a God, but them actually be mistaken, and there's be some actual like naturalistic explanation? Is that possible?
I just wanted to go back to the rubric. Where 32, utilize real reason check to confirm the reasons support confidence. And I'm checking that. Now we'll go back to the video.
Is it possible that a God exists, but Christianity is false?
It is possible that God exists, and
also a very good question.
Christianity could be false. Could be, and I'm open to that. I'm open to that being false. So.
Is it possible that a God doesn't exist?
If from my belief, no.
No.
I don't think that this creation, just Earth alone, or you know, this cosmos was created out of accident. There has to be a divine creator. It's too perfect.
Why?
It's too perfect.
Yeah.
What would an imperfect creation look like?
I had to explore that a little more, you know, and then it goes back to this duality, right? Because this is so perfect, chaos also exists within it, if that makes sense. Like
perfection.
There's imperfection within this perfection.
Perfection is only perfection when there's imperfections in it?
There it is.
Okay.
Good job of repeating it back.
Example of something
so he can hear himself.
Something that's perfect because it has imperfect parts?
Yeah, like human beings.
Human beings?
Yeah, like look at us. Like we're perfect, right? But within our perfection, there's imperfection. There are biases. There are egos. There are things that we have to overcome in order to strive for this so-called perfect being, right? Like, I mean, just look at us and look at the things that we're able to achieve, and look at the things that we've achieved over time. But also look at the things that we've destroyed you know, look at all the stuff that we've done to our environment. You know,
I think the interlocutor here was trying to make a point that he did not articulate well. He said that perfection is made up of imperfection. That was a really messy way to say what I think he's saying, which is that basically the concept of perfect doesn't exist without imperfect things around it. It's kind of like you can't have hot without cold. You can't have up without down. He's saying you can't have perfect without imperfect.
Yeah, I might be wrong, but I would have just generally, I'm really interested in this thing that he's saying. So I would have just, I wouldn't even known of what exactly to ask apart from to ask if he could elaborate. But then at the end, I thought, okay, so does this mean that there's imperfection with God, within God? Because God is perfect.
Oh, that's a brilliant question. Yeah.
So that could have been a question.
Yeah. That would have been a good one.
That's a good example of interpreting charitably, though, humanity.
Yeah.
Like you could really kind of take that in a very different direction. So it's just a good illustration of you, like, you know, trying to see the best in what somebody's saying.
I had no clue what he was saying until you said that. And then I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm starting to see what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting avenue to explore, but I think it's getting away from the main claim.
And I just wanted to say, which one was it? I'll listen carefully, repeat back, and avoid misrepresenting their conversation partner. Matt repeated back really well in that last segment there.
That's a good question. That's a real good question. Life, man.
Perfection is life?
In my opinion, yeah.
In your also, just a second.
So
Matt,
when you say like,
yeah,
it's Matt, it's your channel, but I don't know if you want to look at chat. Up to you. Anyway, moving on. Go back to the video.
Well, what's the question? That when we got back into it, he said that's a good question. Do you remember what the question was? What did you say? Something like, "What does perfect mean?" Because that's. Do you remember what the question was? Sorry.
I don't. I was
dealing with a bit. Is that fine?
YouTube chat. Sorry.
Yeah.
Rewind 10 seconds, Google.
There we go.
But also look at the things that we've destroyed. You know, look at all the stuff that we've done to our environment. You know.
How do you define perfection?
Thank you. Great question. Yeah.
That's a real good question.
That's what I wanted to ask earlier. So thank you.
Life, man.
Perfection is life?
In my opinion, yeah.
In your opinion? Yeah. So when you say like, I'm just trying to understand how the word here.
Yeah.
Like if you had like a really good steak and you were like, this steak is perfect. Are you saying this steak is life?
I have to break it down more, right? All right. So when I say life is perfect, you know, that's not taking away that there are bad things, you know, associated with life. When I say an example of life being perfect is because we have all these different things that are capable, that could happen, that have happened, but also within all of that, good things have happened. And in my opinion, for me, that would be my example of what perfect is. Because if perfect was nothing bad ever happening, I don't know, man. And that's what sometimes too, it takes me back to religion and like, you know, Christianity, right? Of heaven and hell, right? And well, if you're thinking that way, then if there's no pain in heaven, if, you know, everything is so perfect, and as Christians say, then that contradicts what I believe.
Oh,
right?
Look, he came up with it
and
himself.
I'm open to that too, right?
What you were saying earlier, Quaid.
Yeah, I'm open to that, and so I'm on this, like I said, I'm on this journey to really explore, right? You know, what is that? And then if I'm wrong, shit, enlighten me. You know what I'm saying? Like, enlighten me. But as far as I know right now, this is where I'm at. This is what I think. And I can talk to a typical Christian, right? And they're like, I don't know, man. You're kind of like far off over there. I don't know. You know, you're not within the confines of what a Christian should be. And I'm okay with that.
So I like how he realized he ended up contradicting himself, which I think is great. But I think I would have asked the question rather than the state, because he defined perfect as imperfect. So then ask him what his definition of imperfect is then, right? I don't know if that would make sense.
Sorry, I might have missed it again, but I didn't take it as he was noticing a contradiction as he was elaborating that he doesn't think heaven is perfect. Unless there's some other place that he was saying this is a contradiction.
I think he did say, so I'm contradicting myself. I think he
okay,
did say that. Yeah.
All right.
This I totally forgot this when I was watching this the first time, but my first SE interview in public, it wasn't recorded, was the claim I am perfect. The guy said he was perfect. And what he really meant was like, I am doing the best that I can. I'm being the best version of myself I can. But he used the word perfect. I don't know. It just clicked with me, and I was like, oh, I totally forgot about that. But it's weird how like you have a definition of something in your mind, and then now I've seen multiple examples of somebody using like a very different definition of perfect than I'm, familiar with.
Maybe his definition of perfect in heaven is different than perfect on earth.
Maybe. Yeah, it's interesting that like you didn't really even have to ask any questions though, and he like took it to the next level and like identified like at least an inconsistency, maybe not exactly contradiction. So
check that inspired reflection box if you haven't.
I already got that one checked, but I did check the goal of understanding others because I heard Matt say, I'm just trying to understand here.
Yeah.
So we're going to check that box.
People, calling out my contradiction, right? Because I think that'll open me up to really, in my personal opinion, to really open me up to truly accepting Jesus' message and also just learning. I don't want to say I believe in this thing, but yet so closed off to the possibility of you might be wrong, bro.
It's important to remain open-minded.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I know it's all over the place, but I'm pretty sure if we get down to it, if you have time, if you have time, I got time.
I guess I'm really curious about this miracle thing.
Yeah.
Like, let me try to think of a way to put this. Let's say this is my brother Corey.
Hi, Corey.
Let's say Corey here was a Muslim.
Okay.
And when I ask Corey why he's a Muslim, he says, I've had miracles in my life that give me confidence that Allah is true, that Muhammad was a prophet. And I'm sitting here and I have you and you say, I've had miraculous things in my life that make me confident that Christianity is true. What's the best way somebody like me, as a neutral third party, could tell which one of you was more correct?
I think we have to get away from the fact that you're correct and I'm correct, and just understand that, you know what, that is the path that you chose to connect to the divine creator, and I have mine, and we're both right. It's not about who's more right.
Is it possible that Christianity and Islam is true?
There is that possibility.
Oh, got the tic-tacs.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, because I don't know enough about Islam, so if I am wrong, please correct me, guys out there. There are passages in the Quran. I've talked to Muslim, and they do give mention to Jesus Christ. The Torah is mentioned in the Quran. Like, actually, the Torah although I think the 5 or 6 books, or however many books are in the Torah,
Yeah.
it's in the Quran. You know, Muslim is part of the Abraham's religion. You know, so again, like,
I think this might have been a good example of why at one point Anthony told me to not use
Islam.
Islam, that's the word.
Yeah.
As
I
the
never
outsider
use Islam,
test.
bro. You gotta use a different, like, non-Abrahamic religion.
Yeah, I
for
like
sure.
to use Hinduism.
Yeah, it's got to be something different.
Now, I will say, though, you could have used Islam here, but you would have to give a little bit of information about Islam that he doesn't know. So, for example, you could tell him that in the Quran, it says that Jesus is not the Son of God. And so then you could set up an outsider test on how could I arrive at the conclusion that Jesus is the Son of God or not.
Yeah, which he kind of almost invites
or
for
you
more
could just-
information too. I mean, he says like, "Correct me if I'm wrong." Like people tell me, like, you know. So I think in those sorts of circumstances, it's okay to be like, "Well, this is how I understand it," and tell him that. I mean, if he's inviting you to do so, I think that's perfectly acceptable.
And for the rubric purposes, are we considering this an outsider test? Was that a successful outsider test?
It's kind of flubby.
It wasn't a successful one, but you did do the test.
Yeah.
Yeah, you tried, so you get the check mark in my book.
All right.
Let's see how it goes.
I disagree. So to me, you only get the check mark if you create self-reflection from the outsider test.
Okay, well that's not how I set up the rubric. I put this mostly
All right.
on the intent and the how good of a job the SE
effort.
practitioner's doing, as opposed
A for
to
effort.
making it totally outcomes oriented.
You get like
'Cause
a
you can- I
half
mean,
check.
Yeah, you can do a great job, and if somebody's unwilling to reflect, I mean, you know, it might be outside of your control, you know.
Yeah.
But
remember he said he
I did
grew up
not
in-
think he was
That's quitter
unwilling to
talk.
reflect.
That's true.
I could have done better with it for sure.
Yeah. But that's okay. You can do the rubric however you like. So Pierce, you're the one filling it out.
Sushi, I don't know if you're muted.
Well, I'm
Sorry.
checking it because I'm defaulting to you, Nate. So.
So I think since
What-
he's already made mention a few times how he's had the experience of these different religions and cultures, it's almost as if he's done his own outsider test. So asking him how he came to the conclusion, how he picked between the two, right? Use his real life example. Because like I really want to know that answer.
I can tell that he has this background where his experience with religion is just people of different subcultures like interacting together, but he lacks like the book knowledge on these religions, and he's not familiar. He doesn't seem to be aware that they have different truth claims. Like they don't just have different rituals or different, ways of connecting with the divine. They have different truth claims.
I will say though,
Open to
I
this
will say though that I
where-
think he's already.
this thing where-
Sorry.
My bad.
I was gonna say, just based off the conversation, it does seem like he's done some reflecting on these topics on his own. So I think that is also a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, bro, and I'm okay with that. Because I might be wrong, and that's okay. And that's it.
Is he saying that he's okay continuing to be wrong? Because earlier you asked him if he would want to know if he was wrong, and he said yes.
And he said, "Lay it on me if you know."
Yeah,
I think he's just saying. I think he's just saying that he's open to it, open to the possibility.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to that, like the question of like, how would you find out that you're wrong? Like, how did you make that decision between the three different religions, right? If he is opening up to it, yeah.
Well, I don't
push
even.
harder.
I think we should. I would divert away from like the different gods, because he seemed to be saying that like all the gods are equal, or that, you know, so long as you're focusing on one of them, then you're going to the heaven or whatever. You're all good, or you're in line with truth. You know that there is a God. But so I think he seemed to be much more reluctant to the possibility of there being no gods, and so that's what I would focus on.
I just want to show this comment real quick. We are not debating Christianity. We are reviewing a video of street epistemology. And if you want to learn what street epistemology is, go to navigatingbeliefs.com, and it's free to take the course. All right, little plug done.
This is going to sound really weird. Let's say Corey believes that Michael Jackson is God. And the reason that Corey believes Michael Jackson is God
is
because he's had miracles in his life.
That's a good question.
Yeah, how could we help Corey out here? Let's say we know, and I'm not saying this is true. Let's say we know that Michael Jackson isn't God.
Right.
How can we help Corey figure that out?
It's a big question, right? We have to look at our intentions first. Like, what is my intention? Like, am I trying to persuade Corey to follow my teaching?
Let's just say,
you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good point. Let's on a scale from 1 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it for you to believe true things?
Ding, 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 ding.
I can't rate that.
Okay.
Good timing.
It's hard.
Is it really important? Is it not really important?
I hate when people say that.
That's a really good question. How do you define truth?
The truth is very subjective.
Truth is subjective?
Wait, no, sorry. The truth... I don't know, man. That's a tough question. Right?
You got to break out the Tic Tacs, man. Tell me you do that. Tell me you do that.
It's Tic Tac time, bro.
I've never once brought it. Yeah, they're in my bag, and I've never pulled them out.
You're just sitting out there with bad breath.
Yeah.
I think he was raised in the African community where there were so many different beliefs, and they were all okay, and they lived well together. That I don't think that he has I think he has a more relativistic approach to it, and he's okay with that. And you know, we're supposed to be having him reflect on the quality of his reasoning supporting his belief, and if they're sufficient for him. And so I think that it sounds like they are.
It might be time to move on to
the really productive thing we got out of this was that he stood up and said, "I don't know."
Yeah, that was a really good moment. It's a really good moment, and honestly, sometimes that's a good place to stop too.
And also give positive praise for it, right?
Yeah.
Acknowledge the humility.
Good point.
Honestly, I want to be this guy's friend. Like, he seems really relational focused. Like
he seems so chill.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, you know, I think he has values and things that he cares about, but apparently
I would listen to his stories about life in Africa all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I echo all that. This guy seems really awesome. Now what would I would say, like, now it might be a good time to just end it. But if you don't, I think might be shifting the claim from this claim to truth is subjective being the claim, and then just talk about that. But that might be a little much, but you know, that'd be another direction to go. Maybe next time.
He seemed like he had time to kill. Or that was the vibe that I was getting from him.
Yeah,
so I was like, okay. I think at this point, though, we're pretty close to the point of like
a street epistemologist, you have time to kill.
yeah. We're not too far. There's the whole video is like 40 minutes maybe, but the last like 10-15 of it isn't really we're not on this claim anymore. I think we're just talking more broadly. So it's soon after this point, I think, that we drop it for the most part.
Spinning right now. That's true, right? Okay, so that is a tough question. You know, that is a tough question. Let's get back to that. Yeah, let's carry on. Let's get back to. Let me think about that.
I love it. Yeah, that's a great ending.
Out of all the beliefs that you currently hold,
yeah. So from here on, it's basically just me like trying to fill up more time with like, I don't know, what else can I ask this guy kind of thing. So
yeah, but it sounds like you're going into a discussion about valuing truth, and I think that's a good place to go, like we talked about. So
yeah, you're starting to examine the epistemology behind his reasonings. So
yeah. I mean, and honestly, like, it's almost the only play that makes sense to go with. Play. I mean, that's not what I mean. But like, it's the only like route that makes sense to go with, right? If you don't understand the foundations of what they mean by true, like, you can't really evaluate, is Christianity true? Like, you have to have that discussion in order for the rest of the conversation to make sense. So it makes perfect sense that this is where you're going with it now.
do you think are accurate?
I don't know. Some of them are just. And I know where you're going with these questions, by the way. And that's interesting, right? Because there are certain things that I believe I know it's not true, but they're just my personal belief. And my thing is, I'm not asking for you to believe it. That's just what I believe. You know.
You believe things that you know aren't true?
Okay, what do you? Okay, see these questions, right?
Did he actually say that? Was that?
Yeah.
That's true? He did. Okay.
He did.
Somehow I missed it.
Yeah, he did. Because I was like, what?
Wait, hold on though.
But did he mean that in the sense that wait? Let's be charitable though. Did he mean that in the sense of, oh, I probably believe things that I will find out are not true?
Yeah. It sounded like he was like trying to thought through and processing as it goes, and
I wanted to repeat back because of how it hit my ear. You know, I was like, is that? I want to make sure that's what you mean when you say that.
Mm-hmm. I just want to make sure I'm hearing it.
If you know, okay, so I have faith
Nice.
in what I believe in.
Faith in what
Yeah, like if I know it, then that takes away faith.
Okay.
Like,
how do you define faith?
Faith is believing that something is true without, like, having to, like, in my opinion, without having to see it, touch it, smell it, or whatever. Like I just have faith that what I believe in is true with my religion and who I choose to follow. I have faith, believing that there is a higher power. I have faith in that, and it's like that's just it. I have faith that they're true.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't quantify God. Like, if I try to do that, then it's like, I don't know, but I can't. I just can't. God is, I'm using the form he for those out there who, you know, God is too big for my human mind to comprehend. God is too big for my human mind to bottle up, and, you know, to, like, if I'm able to, you know, do that, then is that really God then? Because it's just, in my opinion, if I'm able to bring, like I don't know, God is just too big, you know, and that's where I can go into, like, little examples, like, you know, God uses people, right? Or, you know, God will, like these prophets, right? God have spoken in my belief, right? God have, you know, spoken. God have used them to bring forth His message. And are they God? No. But, you know, they have a purpose that God had for them, and they came and they've served their purpose. You know, I mean, since the beginning of time, in my opinion, we've all tried to, you know, connect to this person or this thing called God. You know what I'm saying? And we can sit here, well, what do you know? Or, you know, and ask these type of questions. We're never going to find the answer because we're just going to keep going around in circles. And we're going to start contradicting ourselves. And that's where faith comes in. You know, either you believe it or you don't. And that's okay. It's okay. But if we're here to try to disprove and like all these different things.
Remind me, how confident did he say he was at the beginning of the conversation?
Very high.
Okay. So yeah, this is one of those opportunities. Like he's basically saying like, we'll never know. We can't know. He seems to be now expressing this idea that like, you know, we can't really know. Which, you know, his version of very confident versus no might be very different, obviously, but it's something where you can come back and revisit that confidence.
I think what's happening is that his confidence is supported by faith rather than evidence.
You just brought that up.
And the SE conversation is getting into the criteria of evidence.
And he's and it sounded to me like he was saying like if we religious people keep talking about this and trying to explain our position, we're just going to contradict ourselves, and so we should just rely on faith.
And you know, I think when he says faith, it's coming from the point of like trust. He wants to trust his God. Not trusting your God, that has like a moral weight put onto it. It's like not trusting your parents' word or your family's word when they promise you something. Yeah.
It was a good spot to ask him what he means by faith, of course, too. Which I'm gonna guess you probably do.
He already did.
He did.
Oh, you already did. Okay. I missed that part.
And it was pretty much believing without evidence. I mean, that's paraphrasing because he was saying, you know, believing something without being able to see it or touch it or taste it or.
Yeah, he used the Bible's definition.
And I think for a lot of religious people, there's like a virtue. Yeah. I'm sorry. There's like audio delays, I think, between me and the rest of you guys.
Oh, the humanity.
I mean, I do kind of see it as the last straw, the last ditch effort. A lot of conversations that I've gotten into or that I've watched, it's along the lines of evidence and reason until those don't work anymore, and then it becomes faith. Like faith is the trump card that you pull out when none of your other cards are working. But
it's another opportunity
I agree
for
with
the
that.
outsider test.
Yeah, I've recently, in the last couple of months, I've really come to see faith as like a method to get your confidence higher than the evidence will take it. It's like a bridge. It's a bridge between where you want to be and where you are maybe justified being. And faith fills up that gap.
Things, then it's like, oh well, that's cool too, right? Because you know, like you said, you know, we have to really challenge what we believe, right? But at some point, you have to get to faith.
Are you using faith to get to very confident in Christianity? Yeah.
I love this honesty.
Use faith to come to a conclusion that is inaccurate?
Yeah.
Okay. What does that say about the reliability of faith as a method for coming to truth?
If you're speaking from a scientific standpoint, it's not very reliable because, you know, it can't be proven. So that's not a reliable method.
It can't be proven.
Yeah, but again, then we go back into like this thing where, okay, this is my personal opinion now. Science changes all the time. Like the theories, you know, they add on theories. Sometimes theories are either proven or disproven, whatever, right? You know, at one point the Earth was flat, and then we found, you know, with more information, right? In my opinion, I just think that science is just here to explain what God had already created. And, you know, we have some of the smartest minds, you know, that have walked this earth and are, you know, trying to prove what God already created. That's just my personal opinion. It may not be true.
Yeah. Okay.
So
is there any way to
outside of
test?
SE, when this idea of like, because a lot of people like to use this argument that science is always changing, especially when it comes to like religion or unfounded beliefs, is like coming out there. Okay, so like, if we were to destroy all of the information about, you know, X religion, and we were able to destroy all of the information that we currently know about science, which one of these would we be able to reconstruct, right? And I think kind of guiding them on that, the answer to that question then, like, do you think we could figure out that the earth is round, right? Or if we didn't have the Bible to look back on, would we be able to figure about the resurrection of Christ? You know, that kind of question.
That's a great like thought experiment. I like that. I like that. Cool.
It was that Ricky Gervais, I think, or somebody. I've heard some comedian say something similar to that before.
I've heard it from somewhere. I have no idea where, but I definitely didn't come up with it.
It is a good question though.
Mm-hmm. I'll be using that. That's a smart one.
To figure out if this is true, if Christianity is true.
And that's the thing. It's personal. You know, it's personal. I can't give you my method because it may not resonate with you. It may not. And I'm gonna ask you this question, right? Are you open? There's this thing called God. Are you open to the possibility of that?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just being like, that's all I ask people is like, just be open to that. Whether you want to follow Christianity, whatever you want to follow.
And I consider that, considering that their conversation partner may know something that they don't, being open.
If you want to believe nature, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Are you open to that?
I agree that it's important that we should all try to be open-minded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
He mentioned something about
was it that we could.
He mentioned my method might not be good enough for you because it might not resonate with you. That's a question you can't ask there is something like, is your method good enough for you? Like is the way that you came to this belief, is it satisfying for you?
Isn't that implied though?
I think it's implied. But getting some echo. I don't know, like if he actually lays it out. I think it's still good to like ask the question, because if they actually then still have to reflect and think about it. Right?
Would it be better to use like a third party in that? Like, would this reason be good for Bobby over here?
Well, I think he just said it doesn't work for everybody, and it's very personal.
Yeah.
I guess what I'd be curious is like, what does it feel like for it to feel right?
I think the question would be, why is that a good reason for you? Why is that reason good enough for you? Because he said it may not work for other people.
That's better. That's better, Veronica. Yeah.
And how would you know it was a good reason for me? Like, how would I know it's a good reason for me? What would be the criteria?
Well, he can't answer for you, but he could answer for himself, right? Like, I mean, if we're going to be curious and we really want to know why they believe what they believe, you know, why is that a good reason for you? And I think he answered that honestly with faith, in that God's his North Star, and you know, I mean,
with his God, like saying like it's like we can't comprehend or understand it, and I forget his exact verbiage, but like if you can't understand what it is, what is God, and how do you know what it is, right? Or something along those lines.
It's unknowable.
Well, and if it's unknowable, how can you know of its existence, right?
That's where faith comes in.
I believe in something I don't know about.
Can't.
Cannot.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. So I believe something, but it's just I believe something would be the statement then. Right?
Yeah, and once again, being charitable. Humanity's been doing a good job of reminding us to be charitable, right?
Yes.
You know, what I think that interprets is the interpretation isn't that like I can't know. It's not that I can't know that God exists or I can't have high confidence God exists. It's that God is just so different and so transcendent, I think is what he's trying to communicate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So don't want to get too hung up on the words he's saying exactly and interpreting them too literally.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the important of asking him then, like,
right?
Like, what does he mean? Like, what is it, right? To get them to reflect on even what they're saying about the whole, like, it's uncomprehendable.
Yeah. Yeah, just asking, what do you mean by that? And repeating back the words that come out of their mouth can do a lot of heavy lifting in these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Shoot, I had my brother thinking about the difference between mixing and shuffling. And, like, he's in deep thought over something so simple as that, right?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
You'd prefer to have that than no test?
Like me personally, I don't care because I already have my belief. It'll be nice to have that just because, you know, there are people out there who are so logical, maybe that might benefit them. But then again, it's like, I don't really care, to be honest. I don't care because I believe, regardless of whatever anybody says or whatever test that comes out, I believe in what I believe. That's not going to change. I've had enough experiences where, you know, that's just that.
Is that
hold on a second? he's yeah. I think he's conflicted. And he realizes it at times and then goes back on it, like, because he said he's open-minded and he wants to change and give me the information and I'll change, but then he's saying nothing, like I won't change, I can't change.
I mean, it's a really like relational type understanding. I mean, it's like perspective. I mean, if someone walked to you on the street and said, what are some things that you could do? What are some things that you could find out that would make you like not love your child or your spouse or something like that? You'd be a little hesitant to like want to give it, you know, you'd want to give an answer like, you know, I love them no matter what. But at the same time, you might think of some things that might do it, but you'd also want to caveat that with, I pretty much love them no matter what, or what, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's very relational. It's like to mention the things that would cut you off, to mention things that would change the dynamic in your relationship is almost like a potential slight against the relationship. It feels like you're potentially doing something against that person or that entity by even questioning it or like entertaining that thought. So I mean, that's kind of my perspective. That was my perspective for a long portion of my life, actually.
Or yeah, and for him, it seems like it wouldn't be like a slight against God so much as it would be like just not affirming an obvious truth because he seems so convinced by it, you know.
Yeah, and it's like, wait, I trust him. Like everything has been going good. Sorry.
Yes. Go. So we're basically asking, from his point of view, it's almost as if we're asking him to jump into being irrational. And he's like, well, why would I do that?
That's a good point, too.
Mm-hmm.
Is that being open-minded? In the truest sense of that word, no. Right? But then again, you're getting, what I'm getting from this whole thing then will be, do we really believe in anything then? That's what I'm getting from that question, because, you know, because we can get back to science, right? Well, science said this is true. And we've done these tests, and it's true. Back in ancient time, right, when the earth was flat,
there.
scientists will beat you a ruler if you tell them that the earth is round, right? But they all their.
I'm just curious. What is he looking at right now?
Right?
Yeah.
A couple of times.
So there's this interesting dynamic going on, which I don't know if it helped or hurt or was neutral to the conversation, but he came up with a lady that I'm guessing was his girlfriend. That's just a guess. I don't know for sure. So part of it, I don't know if he's like talking to me all the time. I think sometimes he's talking to her or to my brother, who's also sitting there. And I don't want to make that assumption, like just carte blanche, that's what he's doing. But sometimes it felt like that.
I thought he was trying to focus, because I notice people will do that, or I'll do that. If there's something that is really taking a lot of brain energy, I will stop eye contact because it's like it takes more energy to keep eye contact too. So it could be that too.
Yep.
Test, they have all the proofs that the earth was flat. And here I am like, oh, no, the earth is round. Ah, you're crazy, sacrilege, kill this guy, right? So that question, man, we can spin it and all these things, man, you're going to get back to faith. Like, do you have faith in what you believe is true? Because 10,000 years down the line, the earth might be something else. Who knows? I don't know.
If faith can lead us to conclusions that are false,
it can also lead us to conclusions that are true.
Okay. Interesting.
I think you asked that already, didn't you? Isn't that the second time you asked that question?
Yeah. You're right. Yep.
I'm hoping you asked something along the lines of like, I mean, you asked like if it could lead to false conclusions. He was like, yeah, it can lead to true. Hope you asked something like, how do we only get the true ones? How do we know if it led to a false conclusion or a true conclusion?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I do, but that would have been a good one. Yep.
I think a couple of questions around even with the Earth is flat thing, because right, it's targeting that whole science is wrong kind of can be wrong thing. It's like, you know, if we were to find out that the Earth was flat and what we previously, you know, believed wasn't true, should we use faith to continue believing it, or should we start believing something else? And or another question could be the what does it feel like to believe something that is wrong, right?
That's a good one.
Yeah, something that I haven't heard before, though I'm sure it's out there, is to like ask them if there's any beliefs they know of that people use faith to believe that they think are really untrue or even harmful. And then once you figure that out, then you can say, okay, then how do we tell the difference from there?
Yeah, another one would be like, have you ever used faith before and found out that you were wrong?
But with that, they'll just say it's part of God's plan.
Yeah. Just they didn't get the full interpretation, or you know, it's for another time, or
wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Well, I could certainly ask you, like, you know, is it possible somebody could have a personal experience that leads them to a conclusion about reality, but that conclusion is false?
Yeah, just like, you know, they can have experiences that could lead them to other things. Yeah.
And what about dreams? Is that the same?
I mean,
can you have a dream about something and whatever that dream was about, have it not match reality?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's the thing. That's why, you know, it's personal, man. Like, our walk with God is personal. You know, it's one of those things, man. Like, when we try to bring too much logic into it, and you're just spinning in circles, you know, and then you don't have a kind of like it has no end and no tail, man. We're just gonna keep going around in circles.
God. So it's personal, but I believe in the Hindu God. Am I right? you know, see what their answer is to that. Because most people are going to answer no, right? Yeah.
I don't know that he would say no. It's personal, and he doesn't seem to think truth is objective.
Yeah,
I think you'd have to have that conversation first.
Yeah, and earlier he was saying that people of other religions, they're all following this different path to get to the same end result, the same divine, so
yeah, I think these are the most like difficult conversations. Like it's easier to talk to like a Christian that is like very entrenched in their beliefs and thinks that all the other all the other types of religions are incorrect. It's much more difficult, to the point that I won't even do it. Talk to a Christian. I think probably, I guess maybe I would, but I don't like doing it. Talking to somebody who has a religious belief that's just like, yeah, it's kind of all right. Whatever you believe is okay. And those people, there's a certain like harmony there that I'm like, what are my goals here? Or what am I doing here exactly?
Yeah, that's where those conversations have to be about truth first. Then got to bust those tic tacs out.
Yeah.
Those people just
kind of funny.
Social cohesion over.
Yeah, which is a fine value to have.
Yeah.
The question I like to ask for relativists is, if we change what people believed happened in our past, does that change what actually happened in the past?
Mm-hmm. And I'm still not convinced if he is a relativist or not, because when he said truth was subjective, he stopped himself and then eventually said, let's get back to that. And so
yeah, I think he might have a double standard here, where it's just that every religion can be the path, and that doesn't even mean every religion is true. Like I said earlier, I don't think he's aware that religions have factual conflict. I think he believes they can just be harmonized.
I don't think we've gotten to his true belief. I think his true belief, this is just a guess, is that he believes in D-bad. Just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's his true moral system. But that's
a good
speculation.
Belief. I have that belief too. So
yeah,
take it.
So you believe in what you believe in, and you know what? It's just that I don't know how to make it make sense. I don't know. But all I do know is that's what I believe in, and that's it. And that's one of the beauties of this country. Like, you can believe in whatever you want to believe in, and that's fine. Am I right? Am I wrong? I think I'm right, but I'm not gonna prosecute anybody for not thinking the same thing that I think. That's completely fine.
Absolutely. Yeah. If a God didn't exist, would you want to know that?
A question I want to ask on that last one, he said I might be right. I think I'm right. I may be wrong, but I think I'm right. And then I would ask, if you believe something different than Christianity, would you still be right?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. I thought he was also being pretty humble, and that he was saying I don't know a few times too.
Yeah.
So I think it's another one of those opportunities to praise and praise and maybe revisit the confidence and wrap it up too. Like,
yeah,
that's probably Sometimes it's hard to know when to stop.
Oh yeah.
Well, can you rewind just 10 seconds though, because this is a solid question that really gets him.
But
it is. Yeah,
it's a question that you've already asked. You asked.
Yeah, I know, but it's worth revisiting. I think. I can't remember what the original, because I think his original answer was no, it's not possible for there to be no God. And maybe upon revisiting it, he'll be a little more humble. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's phrased differently. And I think he asked a question about like more Christianity specific, and now it's about a God.
Yeah,
so
he
it is
Christianity,
a little bit different.
And now it's just God. No.
Yep.
Not thinking the same thing that I think. That's completely fine.
Absolutely. Yeah. If a God didn't exist, would you want to know that?
Don't know. I know God exists, so I mean, yeah. I don't know. That's a good question, but I don't know. You know,
Not sure how to answer.
Yeah.
Kinda. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, he's changed on that. So
is there
earlier,
anything
when
that
asked like if Christianity wasn't true, would you want to know that? He said, "Yeah, I would want to know that." And now
Yeah.
he's saying, "I don't know." Yeah.
We're talking about God now,
He went
not
from-
Christianity.
He's
We
a
are
solid
we are
deist
talking about
by
God
all
now.
means.
So I guess for God, it's like heavier for him than whether Christianity is true.
I
He said
think James-
earlier in the conversation too about that, like there is a God no matter what, regardless of religion.
It tracks. Yeah, with what he said earlier.
It's more fundamental.
I
And
think maybe rapport has been damaged somehow. And I think maybe, what do you think, Matt? Do you think that maybe he was starting to get, because I remember he was saying that this is what I believe and I can believe it and I could be wrong, but I'm not going to persecute anyone else, you know? And I felt like he was kind of projecting a little bit onto you. And then you asked him about the dream thing. And I was like, oh, like.
It could be. I will say
then,
he left a comment under this video saying that he'll contact me again, that he wanted to talk again. And so I thought, well, if some rapport was lost, it wasn't too much anyway.
Oh yeah, I don't think any rapport was lost really. I think he was just I could be wrong. Like I think he was I think he was just super interested in having a conversation and exploring his thoughts, and didn't think that you meant any harm or anything. But I think he just got to a point where maybe it was just in part that the conversation had run its course, kind of thing, or but in part just that he didn't have. I feel as though he didn't have enough solid answers behind the difficult questions. And so he was just like, I just gotta believe what I believe, and and kind of shrugging off the importance of, are we believing true things, and is it important to believe true things, and is it dangerous to believe untrue things?
Yeah, and I think that's the importance of ending the conversation at aporia, right? Where we are in thought that leaves them open to continue thinking when they leave. Where it's like, I feel like we did raise those defenses a little bit, that maybe the conversation he's going to walk away with, like, it was, they weren't hearing me on this or that, right? Like I could have said this instead, right?
Defense crept in.
Yeah, there's a couple times that he's kind of done this, like, I don't know, and like it's okay, and I'm letting everybody be, and it almost kind of seems like a, hey man, I don't have the answers, and I don't know. And like, can we be done? Like, there might be a little bit of that too.
I don't think so though. I don't think he's frustrated with Matt. I think he's frustrated with the fact that he can't answer the question.
Yeah, but that frustration is still something you don't necessarily want to linger on at the end. True.
Right?
You don't want to keep asking questions and getting him more frustrated either.
Yeah. So you can bring it back in some kind of positive way here.
But it is really hard to stop the conversation a lot of times, because like me personally, I really love these deep philosophical conversations. So sometimes, especially when the aisle's open to it, is just keep going and going, right?
Maybe that's something to look for then. If somebody says, I don't know, man, it's almost like he's trying to repair rapport, almost like he's trying to, like, let's get back to when we were friendly and just having a chat, like maybe that would be something to look out for though, for these conversations.
Yeah, could be a good sign. Yeah, because it can be tricky to know when to end, and so this sort of definitely.
Yeah, I just think I just think he has a great attitude though, like and being so honest and open in so many ways, so he really did a great job. And Matt did a great job asking questions too.
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, really good.
I agree.
That can go in the SC course. When to end a conversation, what to look for when ending a conversation. I don't know, man.
I don't know how many times when your IL has said, I don't know, man, like 2, 3, 4 times.
You could learn or find out about the world that would lower your confidence that Christianity is true?
At this very moment, no. Can't think of anything.
You should have asked what would raise first.
There are people out there,
so that way maybe his defenses could lower.
Yeah, because you are kind of onslaughting him at this point.
Yeah.
Who will look at Christianity? Oh my gosh, you know, these guys have done more evil around the world, and they will give you facts. They'll give you stories. They'll, you know, different things out there to prove that Christians are evil and whatever they want to make up. It's out there, man. And that's fine. You know, I mean,
like people can
people can be cruel,
right?
And that's
regardless of what beliefs they hold.
That's what beliefs they hold. Like and that's what also makes us perfect too, because you know, as cruel as we can be, there's also something within us that is so good, and we can be so kind and so, you know, great. And that's what makes life interesting, in my opinion. And, you know, religion is cool, you know, and all these things, but it's that compass, you know, it's you know, at the purest form, religion is good. But once we introduce human, our corruption that we also have within us, you know, we can make religion look really bad, at simultaneously making it look really good. So, you know, if we're just looking at it from like that, you know, other side, and not also accepting the fact that there is good, we're just kind of like stuck in this really weird area.
You think that's a bad place to be?
What?
Stuck in that area that you're describing?
Yeah. I don't necessarily think it's bad. I just think that we need to evolve. Like we need to improve our way of thinking. Like we need to understand that, yes, religion is complicated. That's what I want to put it. It's complicated, and that's fine. And we need to just get past that. You know, we've done so many things in the name of religion. But to be honest, that's just our personal ego we're trying to satisfy. A lot of people who are evil will come to, oh, we have a lot of people that believe in God or Christian or Muslim, whatever. Let me go exploit that, you know, and I'm a Christian, you know, using that shield to fulfill their evil deeds, right? You know, and we also have good people who just, you know, whatever, you know, let's get past that and accept that exists, and let's get past that and let's try to make this place a better place. And that's it. I think that's what God would want us to do, to make this place better, leave it in a better place than we found it, and, you know, for the next generation, you know, and try to look for evil and
I forgot what question you asked him. What did you ask him?
Or, you know, mitigate.
This is still what would lower your confidence, if anything.
And also, like, is it bad to be stuck in the negative?
You let him go on such a tangent.
I like
you're right.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it's the end of the video. It's giving him kind of the last word to kind of share his values. That's just me.
If the question was what would lower your confidence, like, as uncomfortable of a question it is, the tangents just aren't worth it for me. I hate when my ILs go on tangents like that.
Well, I personally like to let them have that space to, you know, it's also good for rapport. It can be tricky though if you're not taking notes of like what question you asked and what question you were going to ask after that. You know, it's a little bit of a chess game. You know, you don't want to forget all your moves and let them, you know, take you down some road. But there can be a benefit to it with rapport, and just like letting them air out their thoughts, and that might give you some extra thing to ask about.
Yeah, speaking of which, there was something he said about religion being complicated, and it sounded like he was closing his statement with like, hey, let's just all get along and work together. Let's evolve. That was another phrase he said. Do you feel like people use the phrase "it's complicated" as a thought-stopping technique to where they don't have to think about how to resolve the issue in their head anymore? They can just say it's complicated.
I think it's their explanation.
Yeah, sometimes.
And then saying that God is too complicated for us to comprehend might allow them to not investigate further, sure.
Yeah, sometimes I think it definitely can be.
But I'm not sure that his main objective is to believe things that are true. I mean, I think that his main objective in this, especially this scenario, is to find comfort and guidance in it. Remember, Jesus is his North Star, and he believes it, you know, with his heart. And you know, he's just got such a great spirit, and he's you know, he's doing it for the good of it, and he was good to sit there and do that. And I think that he was explaining that. I think he was explaining his answer of, you know, what lower your confidence. I don't think he's like, I don't know, nothing really. And then he was giving his reasons as to why that he wouldn't want to lower his confidence in it. And
it might be like a utilitarian, almost like judgment to say that religion's too complicated. It's not going to really win me anything.
I'm sorry, David. What was last?
He has a delay. It's no problem. Humanity, you want to go
ahead? We're dealing with someone that probably has identity invested into their belief. So I think that lends itself to his adamance on the subject. So.
And I imagine he looks at the cost benefit, like questioning religion, making like understanding the epistemology. It's almost like understanding the etymology of how words came to be. It's like it's not going to really change his life that much. I think if he gets that figured out, I think or like the thought, all the work. There's not a real big benefit in his mind, I don't think.
He's expressed those kind of utilitarian sentiments a few times, and then you take that and you combine that with, we're not really sure how much he values truth or whether he thinks truth is objective, right? You put those two things together, and yeah, why would he want to change his mind or become less confident if he thinks that it's doing a good thing for him, and especially if he's not really sure if objective truth is
right
as a thing, right?
I think this is why the question of like what would lower your confidence can be important, right? Like the earth is round, like I believe the earth is round, right? Like nobody's going to change my mind on that. The earth is round, right? And like maybe in the same way, that's how he's expressing his view of like God being real. Like it's round. Like what more information do you need? It's round. But when you ask the question, like, well, what would change your mind about that? Well, like, I don't know, maybe like pictures from space showing it's flat rather than it being round, right? Like that kind of idea. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I was thinking it might be helpful or interesting to ask him if I lost the thought. I was like slowly trying to grab it, but it just kept floating away.
All good.
Well, I appreciate how you let him talk, and kind of, I don't know, I think it might have helped. Well, I think David, somebody said, like, let him get his thoughts out, you know. Dax, I understand your like that drives me crazy sometimes too, when not especially in SE conversations, but when people go on and on about something that is not, I mean, I can understand the frustration, but I think in this instance, as we're reviewing this video, I think that it was good for him to be able to think his thoughts through.
Yeah, and I just now remembered what I was going to say. It would be cool to see what his thoughts are on, like, if you could get the benefits, the same benefits, but without the belief. Benefits without.
That's a great question.
How can are there other people who don't have this belief that still have the same benefits?
Yeah, I was thinking if you wrap it up in.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was thinking if you could somehow wrap up what he was saying and get what he really believes is true, and I mean what he really believes is important, and somehow find a question that would be like, well, why is that? You know, are there other things that could give you that sense of fulfillment, or you know, the whatever you just said, Chase, the
benefits without the belief. And it might be tricky though, because there is one thing, like, you know, that religion offers that atheism can't give you, which is that feeling, that comforting feeling of a life after death. You know what I mean? Because we're all just like, well, that's just it. So no promise of pleasure afterwards, you know.
Yeah, but he wasn't talking about that. And I don't think it's really about the Christian versus the atheist. I think he was finding purpose and meaning in life, and he was getting that through Christianity. So if there was an outsider's test that you could use, or I mean, if there's a question that you could use to find or to to find a way for him. Are there other things in life that you can get the same type of pleasure and purpose and meaning out of that don't involve a belief that you can't substantiate? I mean, I don't know. Because I don't think believing things that are true was his main goal. And I think it's wrong of an SEP to assume that, or to assume that that is the best way, you know, whether, you know, we think so or not, but that's the charitable, you know, intention to find out what's sufficient for them.
Yeah. Minimize your assumptions as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Good point.
That evil.
Yeah. If you found out Christianity wasn't true, how would that affect your behavior?
I don't really think it'll affect my behavior at all. I think if you're good, if you're inherently good, you're good.
You're gonna do good things.
You're gonna do good things. You know.
Don't be a dick.
I'm not good just because guy or Christian tells me to be good. I'm just good. And that's it.
Right.
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
That distinction. Yeah. Did you have any questions for me?
What religion are you?
Where's the answer?
Quickly cut off.
No! Shut it down.
Is that really where you left it at? Oh, I didn't remember you did that.
That's messed up.
That is kind of messed up. Matt.
Same Matt time,
Such
same
a
Matt
tease.
channel.
Because I
Such a
think
tease.
a lot of reflection can go on when they get to answer or ask you questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't find the rest of the conversation very valuable for posting purposes, for like trying to show a decent example of SE. So I think that's why I cut it off.
Yeah.
What was? Can you just tell us briefly how that post convo went?
Yeah. It was. I mean, I think it was really amicable. Like, I just said I don't hold any particular religious beliefs, but I'm open to them. Yeah, man, it's been so long, and I cut it out of the video, so I don't remember. But it was good. Like we left with a handshake.
He handled it well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't seem bothered. He didn't seem surprised. So.
And I wouldn't expect him to be bothered either. Based on your conversation, don't be a dick sort of thing, right? So as long as he's not getting the vibe that you're a dick, he's probably totally happy with you believing or not believing whatever it is.
I mean, he wants to have a second conversation. I saw his comment. Like,
yeah.
He wants round two.
And he doesn't know what your religion is, so it's like not obvious that you're this or that. It's like this guy could be all right, maybe.
I think Matt's all right.
How confident are you in that?
I would say 82% confident that Matt is a good guy.
I like it.
I'll take it.
He's
Can Matt both be a good guy,
perfect.
not a good guy?
Shall we go to the rubric?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
How long is that video?
I think it's about 40 minutes. It's pretty long.
All right.
I didn't mark a collaborative language collaborative. Rather than confrontational. Well, you weren't confrontational, that's for sure. Were you collaborative enough?
I don't know. I don't think so. Watching it back.
You mean like using we statements?
Yeah.
Like,
Is that what that means? Yeah.
How could we together figure this out?
He did do that. He did do that at moments. I remember that. But
with the outsider test, he did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's almost kind of like an overall general vibe. Like if you're not being confrontational, if you're not trying to point out flaws and argue with them, I think generally you're probably being pretty collaborative. This is where I envision like a second version of this rubric where there's like 3 check marks for every row, and like one of them is like collaborative +1, confrontational -1, and like neutral 0. So I'd like to make another version of it that's like that.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very teacher thing to do, Nate. teacherly thing to do and make a rubric.
I love rubrics. They make grading so much faster.
Yeah, they do.
Was Matt charitable? I think so, right? Should we give him the tick?
Not as much as I could have been. I think humanity pointed out quite a few like things. Watching it back, I like almost saw it in a different light.
I think you were enough, though, in my own opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think you were faced with any emotional
I don't
challenges.
think you were
right?
uncharitable. There's just like there's room to do better. That's all.
Yeah. Which I mean that's the case with most things and most every conversation. We're never perfect in it, so.
8 is
Can't all
kind of
be
a weird
Pierce.
question.
I'm gonna say seriously considered other points of views, even if those ones they may disagree with. Yeah, definitely.
Seriously consider other points of view. Yeah.
Put
Diddy,
the burden of which one?
Kidding. I said Diddy though. Matt's the only one who can answer
think
that.
so.
That's another thing about the rubric is like some of the stuff is like it's like the mindset and the goals of the SCP, and it's hard. It's really hard as a outside person to really know. You just have to look for evidence of it and kind of guess. So more chances to update and improve the rubric.
I didn't find any examples of putting the burden of understanding and rapport on themselves. Was there any of that? I don't recall
No,
any.
one
I don't
time
think
during the
there was a
outsider
point-
test of faith, whenever he said, like, my brother over here says Islam shows miracles, and you're telling me miracles in Christianity. How do I know the difference? At one point, but I don't know if that counts as the entire.
Repeating claims back is evidence of putting the burden of understanding on yourself.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever said something like, "Correct me if I'm wrong." That's one that I usually like to, if I'm misunderstanding you, please let me know.
Well, he did
I don't know if
say,
you
I
said that or
want to
not.
make sure I'm getting this right.
Well, I take that then.
He did say that,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
He definitely said that.
Okay. Show appreciation or offer praise for the conversation partner.
I'm going to say
I don't
no.
think
I'm
you
gonna
did
say
that.
no.
I don't think I deserve that one. Yeah.
There were some opportunities
Yeah.
that were missed there.
A lot of
That is a weird one, though, for me. I don't think that's always going to fit in conversations. I feel like that's only particular conversations that's going to apply to.
Yeah, and not all of these items are gonna apply to every conversation. And I don't think when you're looking at these rubrics or filling out this rubric, you should be like, I'm looking for 100%. Like it's more like, if you've got more than like 20 check out of 35 points, like that's actually pretty good. Like some of the better SE conversations I've seen have scored like, 23, 24. Like you're not gonna
if
get
you
all
start
of them.
gamifying SE, next thing you know, in a couple months, we're gonna start seeing like street epistemology speed runs.
Me and Typo, 90 seconds or 60 seconds. Oh yeah, including building rapport.
If you can get somebody to look up for like more than 20 seconds, you're just like, kill screen, I got it.
Achievement unlocked. Outsider test.
Was there miscellaneous rapport building in any way?
Yeah.
Was there an original rapport question?
Not really.
Is that the
Not really on
only, is that
camera.
the only question?
He just seems so affable, I don't know. I thought we were like best buddies as soon as he sat down.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
Well, he gets the check mark then.
Yeah, I say
Yeah.
rapport was
Yeah.
good enough that deserves a check. Yeah.
I don't think he did any of these things, any of the bad stuff.
Well,
That I'm aware of.
he
I know.
agreed with what he was imposing in the beginning there. So I mean, did he impose the definition? I guess it was more asserted the claim, but he ended up agreeing with it. So like
That one.
That one's half check.
half check, yeah.
I would check 21.
21. Well, do you have an example?
Repetitive.
Repetitive. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
He was repetitive and he asked a couple of questions that were a little bit confusing, I think.
Yeah, I was confused by one of them. Yeah.
You got a clean sweep on section 5. Ask why the conversation partner is at their stated confidence level. You may have, and I may have missed it. I don't know.
I mean, if he asks for reasons, then that's
Yeah,
basically what that one.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if you're asking for reasons, that one is one that you really should get almost every time.
Otherwise, you're probably not doing SE. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Well, I took it quite literally. Like, you have to ask and involve the confidence level in that question. At least that's the way I read it.
I think it's like generally you ask that after you get confidence, you ask for a reason, and so like it's kind of an implied sort of thing.
Ask questions to how their interlocutor forms belief. I mean,
I feel like I didn't get that deep into that.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, there was
think
like it
so.
was kind of implied when you get into the reason, but
That's
He
how I
never
feel.
got into like what his miracles were or what the experiences were that kept bringing him back. What it feels like whenever he feels the North Star, like how he determines what the North Star is.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think that this is like something where that fact that we never really explored what truth is and whether it's objective or subjective like fully, I think that kind of became a roadblock to asking some of these other questions.
Yeah. Here.
Number
I
34.
mean, he tried though. He tried, but then he said, "Can we just move on?" Because he couldn't answer it, right?
Number 34. That's the one I wanted. Alternate explanations.
Yeah, I don't think any of those were asked.
Yeah.
Is reason relevant to the claim?
I don't think I asked that.
I don't know. No.
Yeah, and once again, this is something where it might not be relevant for every conversation, right? These are ways to get points, but you don't have to get them all.
It's not a negative point.
Did you ask about the testability of a claim? I think that was brought up, but
Yeah, near the end.
Yep. If you could show the belief to be false, it is false. Did you ask about falsifiability?
Yeah.
Yeah, like 4
Yeah.
times.
Okay. Was I even listening?
Sorry.
Ask if the conversation partner's confidence has changed. I don't think so.
Nope.
Ask if the conversation's opinion on how the conversation went. Did you ask him how it went? Like maybe after you?
After I did, yeah.
Okay. We'll
Not
count it
included in the. Okay.
on the video. Offer the opportunity to ask some questions.
Yeah, but not give answers.
Selfishly kept it
But
for
not wait
himself.
for the answer.
Nate, if one of your students says,
Negative.
well, I did it, but I didn't do it in the assignment that I turned in.
I thought about doing it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm taking that one back.
Yeah.
Which one? This one? There.
Offer the conversation partner an opportunity. Okay. Wait, did you do that? Did I miss that? Offer their conversation partner an opportunity to ask them questions.
Yeah,
It's not in the video.
that was the
Okay.
very last thing. Do you have any
Wait,
questions for me? Yeah, what's your religion?
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
That part is in the
yeah.
video.
Oh yeah. Nice.
It almost ended like a TV show or something. He threw his hands up. He was, what's yours? I love the excitement.
Well, that was really fun. Yeah, really fun stuff. I got to get running. Matt, that was a good job. Nice hanging out with all y'all. I expect to see rough cuts of the SE jingle, the new song, like a little reminder of how it goes. It's a work in progress, and you're supposed to expand upon it, but it goes to something like this. What's your level of confidence, and what would make it go up or down?
Thanks for that reminder, Chase.
Oh, brilliant.
Thanks, Chase.
Love you, Chase.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Peace out.
Yeah.
So I want you guys to review one of my videos. I think this would be fantastic because I love to learn and to find all the mistakes that I've made, and I think this would be a great learning opportunity. So maybe like
Absolutely.
next week or the week after, if you guys be down,
Yeah.
we can pick
Yeah,
apart
let's
one of
do
my videos.
I'll rip you a new one, no problem.
Great.
It'd be fun.
I want to do one of my
Yeah,
videos, too.
if only you rip apart one of my SE videos, Sushi.
Oh, okay. Sounds fair. I like
There
it,
you go.
man. I like
Tit
it.
for tat.
Yeah.
I only have a
Quid
few, so
pro
if you guys
quo.
want to pick the one that you want to pick apart, I don't know. Or if you want me to pick one of them.
Yeah, pick the one that you most want feedback on.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. We can do that.
Yeah,
Or
if there's anywhere you
anybody's-
felt like if you felt lost during any conversations at all, I think those ones are really good. The ones that I've had reviewed were ones where I thought, I don't know if I really did a good job here, or got confused, or I felt like I didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
Having those ones reviewed was really beneficial for me. Yeah, having
I
review
think
shows are great.
My worst one was on day 3, and like 5 hours of sleep, and I was beat after a day's work, and it was like getting dark out. And I'm like, my mind was done. I was like, no, I should have stopped.
Unsurprisingly,
In that case,
my,
maybe not that
my worst SE was my first SE.
Oh.
That was definitely my worst.
It's all uphill from there. Or
I think
all
mine might
downhill,
have been my
whatever
last,
the good one is.
ironically.
My toddler just woke up and is screaming "Daddy," so
Aw.
I think I need to go.
That's good
But-
cue.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. But hey, it was great hanging out, guys.
Good parenting
Yeah.
work.
All right,
Nate,
be right there, buddy. All right, good night.
Peace.
Bye.
yeah. Oh, I should have said before he left, but yeah, like you were saying, Sushi, this has been incredibly beneficial for me. So,
Cool.
thank you guys, big time for hanging out. Really appreciate it.
What was the
Giving me
biggest
a-
benefit for you?
I think what you were saying, honestly, is just being more charitable or finding places to praise honesty. Those are my two biggest takeaways.
Amen.
Yeah, praising honesty. It seems like that's really big with Anthony, especially his later videos. He seems to really point out that type of thing to his ILs. Yeah,
I like it.
I think it needs
I
to
like
be more of a habit made in the community.
Yes.
I
Amen
agree.
to that.
Mhm.
Absolutely. All right, guys.
All right.
Yeah. Peace out.
See you next
Brilliant,
time.
Matt.
See you next
See you
time.
next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Same Matt time, same net channel.